Yeah.
But let's first talk about some issues that are kind of coming up with both AtGames and Arcade One Up with their pinball,
Mm.
and that is shipping and delivery. So
It's not easy.
no, currently with Arcade One Up, the Star Wars pinball cab has been arriving in people's homes. They have
Yes.
been getting those shipments. Unfortunately, some of those people are then going and posting that their DMD screen is having mixing pixels, or
Mm.
there's issues with the main monitor, like just plain cutting out or being
Yeah.
hyper
Dropping.
bright.
Yeah, some real contrast issues and color issues with some of these monitors coming out.
And I don't know if
Um,
I'm hoping this is just a rare occurrence, not across the board occurrence. It's hard to tell
mm.
when, because who usually posts these things? People that are complaining. People that love their
Yeah.
product don't sit there and go, "Oh yeah, my contrast is perfect," and that be their post because nobody wants to read that.
Yeah. No one cares.
Nobody cares.
That's that's a problem. Like when you're right, Chris. Like this, the problem you have is when you're looking at these Facebook forums, it's usually negativity or problems. And sometimes, depending on the forum, it is positivity and hey, look, I love my game. Um, the Toy Shop forum actually is normally pretty positive. There's a lot of happy customers with that
But
Toy
then
Shop
everybody
forum.
goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, you're a homer.
Yeah,
It's in your home. Of course you're gonna love it."
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but there you go. Take it
Um,
as you will.
but I do want to just point out something that I know is not available on the Arcade One Up cabinet. This would be a software thing. So, hi Zen.
Mm.
There should be actually the hardware end would be Arcade One Up. You should offer the ability to change the brightness and contrast on the monitor. That should just be
Oh,
a setting.
absolutely.
I don't know
That you
why that's
should.
not a setting.
Yep. Like it
Because
needs. I don't know how they would do it. Like whether they just have physical control somewhere, or whether
well,
they work it into the software.
here
Do they do it
me
on the arcade one ups?
on the cab that I have, if you go
Yeah.
into the back and you reach up, there is actually contrast
Contrast.
and brightness that you can mess with.
So,
It's not
so they're
easy to
there.
get to, and you would need literally two people, one person standing at the front going, "Yeah, I like that," and the other person physically doing the control.
It's like tuning the aerial on the roof. Like you have to have
Yes.
someone going, yeah, that's good. Okay, a little bit to the left.
Yeah. So not ideal. Just put it in there as
Accessibly.
accessibly so that people can change it accordingly. Because I did that indeed. The Street Fighter, it was way too washed out for
It
me.
was blowing out. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I knocked it down quite a bit and got it to more my liking, sacrificing the lower end, like how much you move your head, what is still showing. But
Yeah.
I mean, there are sacrifices you make, but I still think it should be a software option right there in the options.
Or yeah, if there's some way of tying it into the actual software itself, they actually have an interface into the monitor. But
Right.
I mean, I don't know if there's one thing we're not sure about with the Arcade One Up screens is if they do have the tuning controls on the monitor, or whether it's just a panel and that's it.
Right.
Hopefully, someone will actually flip the top up. I'm sure Mel could tell us because he's got one of these cabinets. We could probably ask
Yes.
him a question to see if there is tuning controls on it.
The
Um,
now the part that I wish that Zen would step in, because I'm hearing this and seeing examples on YouTube,
hmm.
the nudging and the sensitivity of it.
Oh
I
yeah,
really do think that you should be allowed to
tweak it.
tweak the sensitivity of your nudging as opposed to just being on or off. And the reason that I say that is even when you're using a controller and you
Yeah,
go ahead and you do your nudge, well, if I do a harsh nudge, it does a full strength nudge. If I do soft, it does a soft nudge.
right.
On my PinSim cabinet, I actually went into Windows and I was able to tune what the accelerometer sensitivity was. Because at
Okay,
first it was literally if I pushed the button, it would tilt. Like I'm
right,
like I just all I did was I pushed my button, so I had to knock down the sensitivity on that. So I know that it
right.
functions and plays, and that should be if they should do some degrees of nudge. I just think allow it,
There
and
is a
that's something that
calibration.
AtGames has in theirs.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's yeah, I think that's definitely something that Arcade One Up should sort out. I think this sounds like there is a calibration option in the Arcade One Up cabinet, although not having used it, I don't know what it does. Like whether it will actually level things out for you if you actually calibrate again when it's installed. I don't know. So because we don't have the cabinet, so we can't test it.
No.
So unfortunately, we're living vicariously through everyone else at the moment.
Which, by the way, it can be exceedingly frustrating because a lot of the comments that we read and hear were like, clearly you've never played these games on PC,
Mm,
or you've never played digital pinball at all,
at all.
or
This is
you
your
don't
first exposure.
understand what they're trying to achieve. And so I know that one of the things that Jared was commenting on this past week, somebody was complaining about, the Arcade 1-Up cab in theory is really only a 15-inch monitor because that's how much of the actual playfield is filling up.
You have.
And they were talking about the Star Wars cabs.
Yeah. I just couldn't quite get that. It's like, no.
Because they were complaining there's too much dead space
apron.
in the apron. Well, here's the thing. It's a wide-body table.
It's a wide-body table.
Most of the Star Wars tables are wide-body tables.
Yeah, they are. And not only that, but like they were designed for PC play. They were designed for PS4 and Xbox. And what they've done is they've gone and put them into a pinball machine using an adjusted cabinet mode. But these machines were fantasy tables. They were made-up tables that Zen have done, and they're not the same as a regular standard-size apron Bally Williams table, for example. So
right.
It's part of the aesthetic of these tables that, yes, you do have a lot of apron area because they often put a lot of animated characters and features onto that apron. Like it actually acts in a lot of places like a stage for these characters to interact on. So it's purposely designed like that. And while you may think that the playfield is smaller, it doesn't actually detract from the gameplay at all. Like the way that they've designed the game and the shots and the shot making and everything like that, it's designed to work within that form factor flawlessly. So while your visibility or your play area may be reduced, they've actually catered for that in the design of the table.
Yeah.
Because remember that these tables, when they were originally released, they were designed to be played in landscape format, not portrait format. So just if you've never played these before as a consumer, and you're wondering what it was like on a landscape screen, think about that. Like if you're using that analogy, it's probably like a 5 centimeter playfield. If you think about the way it's actually oriented on a landscape screen. So I don't really know how to answer that question except saying that it's by design. So
well, and quit comparing it to things that were designed for their reproductions from an actual cabinet kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, the option would be to have a wider cabinet, I guess. I don't know. That's where you're dealing with trying to cram something into the confines of a 16:9 monitor.
Yes.
All right. Those are the So those are kind of the issues that Arcade 1-Up is having right now. Nobody has received their Marvel pinball yet.
Mm-mm.
And nobody really knows when their Attack from Mars cabinets are coming, which sold out like that on Best Buy's pre-order.
Yeah.
Other than Jared, you
seem
to have seen something.
I did. I did actually see on Twitter, and I think Mel actually retweeted it saying that's hot. But it was Marvel and a Star Wars cabinet side by side with some topper.
Oh, that was Cool Toys. Doug's. Yeah, Doug had both of his side by side, just kind of showing off his fandom. Yeah.
Yeah. And that looked really nice. Like having them together like that. Oh, it makes you go. I might. I don't know if I could just have one.
Because he got the Marvel cab for review, and then he had ordered the Star Wars cab. So that's why
right.
That's why he's got both of those.
Too. Yeah. That's right.
So who knows? There's a possibility that mid-March, I guess, AFM might start shipping. That's based off of some date that Jared saw.
Well, put it this way, I'm going to be having a look around Costco every day, around from about 17th of March onwards, to see if I could spot one of these things in the wild. And if I see one, I'll absolutely take photos of it for you guys.
Now, on the flip side, Should point out, we heard some numbers about Arcade One Up and what the demand for these things are.
Mm,
It's rather astounding. Completely threw them off guard,
yeah.
and it's nothing but good. We'll get into why it's nothing but good in just a moment, because it's also nothing but good for AtGames. Same situation.
Mm,
They are blowing through. They're on their fourth wave of accepting pre-orders.
pre-orders. Yeah. That's
Fourth wave.
they've got to be happy about that, right? Like
Yeah,
the risk they took on this product is well and truly paying off, just as Arcade One Up's gamble was. And
exactly.
like almost like round of applause to everyone
Right,
for backing it,
right.
because this means it opens up a huge amount of opportunities for these companies to innovate in this space.
Yeah.
So
Now,
really good work,
unfortunately,
everyone.
they're still only taking payments from the Wave 1 people.
Well,
The Wave
yeah.
4 people, I think they said that they could maybe expect sometime around May that they'd
Mm,
be catching delivery. Here's the bummer with that. They're supposed to hit retail in about June. Now, with
yeah.
I mean, obviously, hey, you want to pre-order so that you guarantee you get it, rather than stocking a store waiting for their shipments to come in to be able to
Mm,
potentially
yeah.
get one. But it is kind of a rub that if you're doing that Wave 4 and you get yours in May and you paid the $100 to $200 of shipping on this thing, only to then find out that, oh, I could have just gone down the block and picked it up myself and saved myself
Yeah.
that money. That's kind of a bummer.
That will sting a little bit. But I think, the people who are hanging around, like the people who are actually going, I want to get in on wave four, probably already understand, you know what? I'm doing this pre-order so I can guarantee to get it, and I'm gonna wear the $200 shipping or whatever it is, $100, just so I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
that is the whole point of a pre-order.
exactly right. It is like
Saving yourself the headache.
really, yeah. 'Cause
Unfortunately,
you're gonna get it
headaches.
sometime,
Yeah,
you know.
unfortunately, headaches have hit some of the users in terms of, so AtGames is constantly, from what everybody posted, they're constantly doing updates on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I guess
Because
one of the last updates bricked the unit for everybody.
yeah, that's
Um,
not ideal.
and when I say bricked, I'm not saying that it completely foobarred it to the point of now it doesn't work. It's not Red Ring of Death bricking.
Yes,
Um,
red ring. Yes,
yeah, we haven't heard the
that
Red
was
Ring
not
of
a
Death
good
in a
time.
while, have we?
That's right. That's a blast from the past.
But instead, it was just making it so that they couldn't play anything on their cabinet.
Yeah, it just wouldn't boot.
It
Like
wouldn't
you
boot.
could
Yeah,
access the update bootloader system, but just you couldn't play. There was something
yeah.
wrong with the
And the
ROMs.
sad part is that means even the things that you were offline had loaded into your cab, you were not able to play. So people were having to basically revert to default initial factory setting, and then
Roll back.
roll back, and then waiting for the next update to roll out so that they could
Well,
tweak and go
you know,
forward. I mean, these things happen.
I've
Obviously,
only got one thing to say about this. Software's hard.
it is.
Rolling updates, across, even if you control your own hardware ecosystem like AtGames do, there's always going to be some problem. So,
That being said,
this
it is a
like,
little worrisome. Uh, the fingers of AtGames constantly poking at your unit.
well, yes. I don't know whether you could, and anyone with an AtGames cabinet, please do confirm this. I wonder if you could optionally say, let me install updates when I want, rather than automatically deploy them. Because if that was the case, I would almost be the cautious consumer and enable that feature. So I could basically have all the bleeding edge early adopters confirm that the thing doesn't brick my system.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's the pro tip. If it's available for me, that's what you do. having fallen victim to that several times with software updates.
So let's get to the good news with all of this.
Yeah,
Obviously, both these companies are far exceeding what they thought that the demand for this stuff would be, which is fantastic. I mean, who thought that Pinball would be doing this? And obviously,
this
both of them
blockbuster.
both of them were probably basing their numbers off of their arcade cabs. I would think.
Probably. Yeah, well, that's the only bit of actual data they have, so they'd probably be doing that. Yeah, I would think.
So it's interesting that the pinball cabs, I don't know if they're doing necessarily better at right off the bat from what the
Mm.
arcade cabs did, but it seems to definitely have caught them off guard.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they're a little surprised at how much people want one of these things.
So what does that mean for us? Well, let's look at it in terms of let's start with AtGames, what it, or not, excuse me, start with the Arcade One Up and what that
Mm.
means, especially with Zen involved. You can almost guarantee that there's going to be a, I would say they're going to brand it Jurassic Park, just because that will sell in retail. But
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
universal uh, licensed table with all the universal
yeah.
stuff in it. I can almost guarantee that that's rolling forward. And people have found box art that indicated that. I
Oh,
don't know if it
really?
was photoshopped, but
Well, probably
you,
the internet's pretty good at photoshopping.
yes, it's hard to believe when you don't see it directly from the source.
Mm. Yeah.
But it also means that, can you imagine this would make purchasing something like, let's say, Adam's Family, paying for
Mm.
that license would make so much more sense because you know that that cab would sell like hotcakes and the stores
Oh,
would probably want that actually in their stores. Um,
I I wouldn't be able to predict how many units of those they would sell. I don't think there would be a ceiling to it. Like they could mint thousands of them and they would sell.
right.
Like,
So basically, it takes the
yeah,
risk from Zen
yeah,
and from Arcade
completely
One Up
removes
because
it.
they would have to also secure the licensing. But it takes that risk away from them in terms of
Mm,
having to pay what might be an exorbitant price for the license to know that, hey, there's a big customer base though waiting for exactly that. So it
absolutely. Like,
makes it a lot easier to approve
yep,
that sort of thing.
absolutely.
It also, I think, opens up the door for, again, take it, take Adam's Family. Boom, you pay for that license, you put that on, slap that on a cab. Now what other tables are you going to fill on with it? Here come your Zen originals that are unlicensed.
Yeah,
You throw those on.
yep.
Those just become the bonus gravy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like you've got your core table of Adam's Family, and then maybe one other Belly Williams table to complement it, and then a whole lot of other ancillary tables. And we see that model with Arcade One Up with their like cabinets with multiple versions of, pardon me, Pac-Man on, and then some random game.
Well, just look
Like,
at what they did with what are they calling it? The Midway Legends
yeah,
cab with the Mortal Kombat, and it's got
mm,
all these Midway titles slopped in. I
yeah.
mean, it's a 12-in-1 cab.
That thing has just been like, according to the Act Game and the Act Games.
I know it's.
I switch between these so easily. Sorry. The Arcade
Quit
One Up.
naming your companies
Um,
with both starting with A.
hey, it's hard. Too many A's, man. Too many A's. Anyhow, so yeah, Arcade One Up like announced they were a little bit surprised at just how well that product was received in the marketplace, and they go like, it's like so in demand. So that's a really good indication that people want these like really quite marquee label brands, and why shouldn't that translate to pinball? Like,
Right.
it's such an obvious thing. You're right. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
So there's where it's a good thing for Zen having the licenses that they do, or the ability to go after certain licenses that they do.
Mm,
That it makes it less dangerous that they're not going to earn their money back for
yeah,
the outlay.
reduces the risk
Right.
dramatically. Yeah,
With ad games, I think it opens up the whole possibility of what people are willing to pay for their hardware. And
because that's really the value proposition that
mhm,
Act Games is all about. They're not necessarily about the software included. They're about the possibilities with the hardware, and that's really their selling point. So, you're right. It's going to be very interesting.
because hopefully they will invest more in that initial design phase or just
Mm,
further design maybe in terms of, I mean, I keep on coming back to it, but it's just like that whole idea of where they put their ports on
that needs a
the
bit of
Legends Pinball.
reconsideration.
come on, you know what you're really selling. We all know what you're really
Yeah.
selling. You're not
Yeah.
selling this cabinet with the software that's in it. You're selling this
Mm.
cabinet for the potential of what software it can play, based
Yeah.
off of
Oh,
what people
absolutely.
plug into it. So put the plug in a place that works when connecting to a computer, so that you're
Yep.
not seeing these gross cables coming off the top of the machine.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. That's 100% true.
So
They need to
spend a
look
little
at
bit
that.
more on the design phase, and get those features that make it so much easier for those add-ons that people are wanting to do.